So I'm not sure if you guys realize this, but you spend about a third of your life sleeping, or that's the idea anyway. And sleep is very important for our bodies to recover. So one of the questions whenever I'm presenting this on stage at different companies or at different corporate events is, why do we need it in the first place? What is the point of sleep? And the question I often ask is, when does your heart stop beating? And of course, everybody looks at each other and goes, well, when you die, really. Well, the closest it gets to stopping and slowing down and recovering is whenever we sleep. So recovery is the key aspect of sleep. It's when your body detoxifies, it's when your brain detoxifies, and so it's very important. We want to try and give you some strategies to improve it if you have any issues with your sleep, and even if you don't have any issues, how to get the most out of your sleep. My section then is all about sleep, and we're going to be talking about why we sleep, as I just said. So detoxifying your brain and body allows for the repair of tissues like the heart, improves your immune system function, so allows your immune system to reset, and they produce a form of protein which then helps to improve your white blood cells, which is obviously very important at this time. If we are going to have a chance of fighting off corona when we get it, we need to have our immune system functioning as well as it can be. It also helps to regulate our mood, and will make our memory better. So the next day, if we've had a good night's sleep, our memory and cognition will be performing better. It also helps to improve our focus, which decreases the risk of injury. So a lot of injuries we get are not by some major accident that people have, but normally it's a completely seemingly innocuous movement that people have done, which causes an overstretch of some tissue and some injury. And quite often there has been links in the research between the chances of a spontaneous injury and a poor sleep cycle. Poor sleep, if it goes on for a protracted period of time, will also increase the risk of diabetes, heart disease, and obesity, which just shows you how important it really is. So, whenever it comes to sleep, the first thing we need to look at is the environment in which we are sleeping in. So let's go through a few of these now, so we can see exactly what we should be doing. Here's somebody who's having a nice sleep. Their position isn't optimum. We'll talk about that in a second. But the first thing that we should be looking for is for a quiet room, which is also cool. So if the room's too hot, you most likely will be tossing and turning. And if there's background noise, unless it's some sort of white noise or consistent noise that actually helps you sleep, then it most likely is going to cause a disturbance to your sleep long term. So that also includes snoring, which I'll go through a little bit at the end. If you have a partner who snores or you yourself snore, there are some things that you can do to actively improve that. So lights and electronics in the room. So our sleep cycle is actually controlled by a hormonal system. Okay, so you have a hormone called melatonin, which helps you go to sleep. And whenever we are getting prepared for sleep, those melatonin levels should come up, and then they stay consistently there until it's time for us to wake up. But that hormonal system is anchored by the lights that we see during the day. So in the morning, there's more blue light. And as we get towards the end of the day, we get more red light. So some of you may have noticed, if you have an iPhone or another phone, perhaps I have an iPhone, so I notice it on there, that you have a night mode. Whenever you press that night mode, it gives the screen a reddish tint. And the reason for that is because that helps to produce melatonin, helps to make sure that we're getting ready for sleep and doesn't cause sleep disturbances. Blue light, which is the light we get mainly in the morning, will actually trigger the excitatory part of your brain that tells you to stay awake. So you can see just on this side, sorry, decreasing blue light 1 hour before bedtime. So that's watching TV, or using electronics, anything with a screen effectively. You also can get blue light blocking glasses. Carrick has a great pair that he wears every night. As soon as he leaves our clinic at 8 o'clock, he's got those blue light blocking glasses on to make sure that he gets a good sleep. And the other thing you can do with regard light is to try and anchor, oopsie, I keep on pointing the wrong way, your brain by getting out in some natural light. So it's a nice sunny day today. If you go out in the middle of the day and have just a look around, spend 20 minutes outside, first of all, it's going to be great for developing your vitamin D, which is an essential nutrient for immune function as well, but also it will anchor in you into the time of day and make sure that you then, as you come towards the end of the day, are getting prepared for a good night's sleep. Let's see what else we got on here. So one of the most common things we get asked as chiropractors, what sort of pillow should I buy? What sort of mattress should I have? There's no right or wrong answer with this. Effectively, when it comes to mattress, it comes down to personal preference a lot of the time, but it should be supportive. Some people prefer a firmer mattress. Some people prefer, something like a memory foam, which may be a little bit softer. And then you should be sleeping with one good quality pillow. When it comes to your sleeping position, oopsie, pointing the wrong way again, your sleeping position, if you're sleeping on your side, you should have enough of a support that your head is kept in neutral so that you're not tilting too far one way or the other, stretching out the tissues there. If you sleep on your back, it should be a smaller pillow. And if you sleep on your front, sleeping on your front is the worst position. You should put a pillow under your pelvis, so on your front of your pelvis, which will take some of the arching out of your back. If people wake up with back pain or neck pain, it's normally because they've been sleeping on their front. If you're a side sleeper as well, it sometimes helps to have a pillow between your knees, which will prevent, again, any rotation of your pelvis. And if you're sleeping on your back, having the pillow underneath your knees will raise the knees up slightly and again take that pressure off your lower back. So if you're waking up with pain in the morning, then that's most likely what's causing that. Another thing then that can disturb sleep is eating, all right, 3 hours before bedtime. So a lot of people will find if they eat in a window, in that 3 hour window coming up to bedtime, it will mean that their blood sugar level is going to increase, which will decrease the sleep quality they have. And it's the same if you're taking any caffeine, alcohol, or nicotine. So there are a lucky few, about I think it's 2% of the population that have a resistance to caffeine, which means it doesn't matter what time of day they drink caffeine, that they won't affect their sleep. So if you know those people who pound Red Bulls all day long and then sleep like a baby, it's probably that they're in that 2% category. But alcohol and nicotine have also been shown to cause sleep disturbance. Exercising regularly for 30 minutes a day, also been really good to try and tire the body and get it ready for sleep. Having a regular bedtime, like I say, our bedtimes were controlled by the light outside, and in our ancestral past, our caveman and ladies of the past didn't have electronic lights to allow them to stay up into the middle of the night. They might have had a fire for a few hours, but after that went out, they probably just settled down and went to bed about the same time every night, which obviously would have changed with the seasons slightly. But the fact that we have the ability to use electronic lights means we can stay up all night. But it's good to try and give yourself a regular bedtime because, like I say, that hormonal internal body clock gets set by having a regular cycle. So it's important to do that if you haven't thought about that before. Now, if you are then wanting to know some supplements, these are the main supplements we recommend when it comes to sleep. So magnesium is a natural relaxant. So if you also are someone who suffers from migraine headaches, then magnesium is another thing that you may be deficient in. So supplementing with magnesium normally for about 6 weeks will raise your magnesium levels, and you should notice a change with your sleep with that. Another supplement called 5-HTP, which is regularly available at any health food store or online, improves the production of a hormone called serotonin. Now, serotonin is the precursor to melatonin, which is the one that's up here just next, which is your sleep hormone. So if you 5-HTP also has many positive benefits in other areas of health, but one of the big things is sleep production. If you want to skip the serotonin and go straight for the melatonin, you can also get that in supplement form. I normally will take one of these when I'm flying from another country to try and beat jet lag. So Before the lockdown happened, I had the benefit of going to Los Angeles for a seminar. And when I was coming back, which was the middle of the afternoon there, I popped a melatonin supplement, which then instantly sort of started me going into a sleep cycle. And within half an hour, I was ready to go for a nap, and slept through most of that flight, and woke up without having jet lag at the other side, which was great. The one thing that we do see in practice a lot is people taking sleeping pills. So the thing to realize with sleeping pills is that they are ineffective after 6 months of use. So if you're taking sleeping pills for a longer period than that, then they're actually not showing any positive benefit compared to placebo whenever we're looking at the research. And the reason for that is your body gets used to having those pills in your system. And if there's an underlying reason that goes beyond that for your insomnia or inability to get to sleep, then you probably need to investigate that with your medical doctor. Now, whenever we can't sleep, or we wake up in the middle of the night, that's another thing we commonly see with people coming in to see us. So there's a few things that we suggest, which will help hopefully whenever it comes to those situations. So calm breathing and meditation is the first thing. So two of these apps that we have down here, Oak and Tide, will have meditations within them that help with sleep. Sleep Cycle as well, which was an app I mentioned last week, will also have some meditations on there, which help you get to sleep, and that will help as well sort of to track your sleeping, to see if you go into the correct sort of cycles of deep sleep and light sleep. So calm breathing meditation is the first thing. Progressive muscle relaxation, I'd encourage you, if you want to Google that. So progressive muscle relaxation is where you tense a muscle like your bicep for 7 to 10 seconds and then relax it completely and then move on to another muscle. But like I say, if you Google it, there are many guides out there, and a lot of people find that effective technique for getting to sleep. Now, if you try those and you still can't get to sleep, the best thing to do is not to toss and turn and think about how you're not getting sleep, but rather to get out of bed and wait until you are sleepy before you go back to sleep. If you find that you're waking up at a similar time each night, there is a possibility that, one, your body's struggling to detoxify a certain part of itself. So if you look up, there are areas of the body that get detoxified during the night. So if you're waking up at 3 o'clock every morning, then it might be that your body is struggling to detoxify that area of your body. And so it actually has to wake you up to raise the energy to try and do that. If you find that it's your liver, for example, that's having a problem, there are detoxification programs out there for the liver, for the gallbladder, for the pancreas that will allow you to improve that area of your body. The other thing to note is if you've ever had to have any pain medication, you may have heard of a thing called a corticosteroid. So the cortico part of that comes from a hormone called cortisol. And as we go through a sleeping period, we have a dip of our cortisol levels in the early morning, normally about 6 a.m., but it depends on what time you go to sleep. So if you're waking up and you find that your back pain is worse in the morning, one, it could be your sleeping position, so take care of that first of all. But two, it could be a sign that your cortisol levels are dropping, and it usually takes about half an hour to an hour for your body to get back to the same levels of cortisol whenever you wake up. So if you find that, then come and talk to one of us. Now, I mentioned about snoring, and this is actually something that most people don't realize chiropractors can actually help with. So what I've popped up on here is a research study which was done in 2015, which talked about the changes that can happen whenever we have changes in the neck. Now, many of you on here are clients of HALSA, so you've been in to see us, so you probably have had an x-ray. Now, if you had an x-ray, and this is an x-ray of a good neck on here, oops, on this side, yep, that's the one. You can see the nice curve. This is the jawline here. This is the neck curve the way it should be. So if we get disturbances, like we can see on the other side over here, it can actually change the position of the soft palate. And what I want you to look at is if you can sort of see, oops, if I get out of the way, the space that we have here behind the jawline, there's a black line, and on the other side, there's a smaller black line or no space. So that means that the soft palate, or the part of your mouth that vibrates whenever you sleep, is going to have a much reduced space. And that unfortunately means that you will most likely have either sleep apnea or snoring problems. So one of the things you can work on while you are in lockdown is your neck curvature. Last week I had some exercises. Again, if you go on my YouTube channel at the Health Elevator, there are some exercises for the neck. But the key one you want to work on is getting the neck curvature to come back by doing chin tuck and tilts, so tucking the chin in and tilting the head back. Or you can lie with your neck in extension over the edge of your bed, and that will also help to stretch out the ligaments and muscles of the neck. Obviously, as soon as we get the doors open again at Halsa, then we can start adjusting. So if you have a snoring problem, then also mention that to your chiropractor, and potentially we can help to resolve that. And lastly, then, there are two other things that we see commonly with people whenever it comes to sleep in clinic, and two areas that commonly people wake with pain in, and that is with the jaw. Now, if you are someone who knows they grind their teeth in their sleep, there's a big muscle on the side of the head here called the temporalis muscle, and it connects into the joint here called the TMJ, temporomandibular joint, which is the one you use whenever you are chewing or biting or talking. So if you get a clicky jaw, there's a chance that there is some instability in there. Now, the relevance of that is it joins to the top part of your neck. And so people who wake up with headaches, people who wake up with jaw pain, people who wake up with neck pain, there's a good chance that it's down to your sleeping position. There's a good chance it's down to changes in your neck. And there's a good chance that it's also to do with some stress that you're experiencing, causing you to grind your teeth. We talked a little bit about back pain as well. So this lady waking up with back pain, you can see she's using two pillows, which means that if she's sleeping on her back, she's probably causing a hyperextension in the back, and she may also be twisting as she's lying on her side. So sleeping position is one of the big things to look at. Again, thinking about those tips I said at the start, and then if you can manage to do something like that to improve your sleeping position, then hopefully it will decrease the amount of back pain you have. But one thing to also try if you're getting back pain currently and unable to see us in Halsa for your adjustment is to stretch everything off in your lower back before going to bed.